All right, we are week 2 without Mark, who is still on vacation. Tim sitting in again. Thank you, Tim.
Mark's birthday is actually literally Bastille Day.
Yes, that is true. And rather ironically, he was in Paris when all that went down in Nice.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to talk to him when he gets back about the state of the country. And
I certainly blame him. I think we can all agree on that.
It's
right?
gonna, having been in France when things go down, it's having been here when things go down here, it's different when you're in country. So it will be interesting to talk to him.
Yeah, the world is getting smaller and smaller.
It is very much so, very much so. So, but we are over here at your fabulous place in
Marengo House. I like to call it Marengo House.
Marengo House in beautiful Pasadena. And we are going to go through a bunch of fabulous DVDs and Blu-rays and hopefully elevate everybody's spirits after what has been a rather horrendous period of few weeks, but certainly a few days here in the United States and France and Turkey.
One of the things about having been film critics, as long as you and I have been film critics, and film fans even longer. So we're looking at 40 plus years. So, and watching as many movies as we do from around the world, it's kind of like you're constantly engaged in a history lesson.
It's true.
I look at all these things that are going on in the world, and I don't know, maybe it's juvenile, maybe it's silly, but my mind can go to a film. My mind can go to a story told in cinema, relevant to or about something like every one of these things. It comforts me in this way. It reminds me that there is simply nothing new in the universe, nothing new on this planet. It's horrifying, it's devastating. But it isn't new. Nope, not new. There's a movie about every single one of these things.
It's true, and history does repeat. So I don't know what that says about us as human beings, but in any case. Well, before we get down to the really nitty-gritty stuff on TV and in new releases, I got a pile of kid vid that I should blow through, because Mark always rides me when I do this. So, in Mark's absence, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity. Mark truly, absolutely hates Filmation or anything that looks like it, and that's why I'm just going to get this out of the way when he's not around. The Tarzan animated television show, the Lou Scheimer produced thing from way back, which obviously this was released expecting to capitalize on the new live-action Tarzan, which is dead in the water now, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, they tried to fix that thing in every possible way that they could, including dragging Samuel Jackson into it.
And then cutting him out entirely after that first trailer didn't work.
And you look, man, there's just no way to fix that. I'm a big fan of, the Tarzan the Watch. It's not that cartoon you're holding there. Ron Ely's Tarzan from the middle 60s. That's the only Tarzan that's perfectly, I mean, look, Marvin Gaye, I think, was in an episode of that Tarzan.
Yeah.
That's how
Everybody
PC
was.
that. Yeah. So Diana Ross.
Well, I was a huge fan of the books, and you know what? Complete season 1 of Tarzan: Lord of the Jungle, the animated show. 5 hours worth of good stuff, talking apes and Tarzan and lions and swinging and the yell and the whole deal. I always felt like this felt fairly faithful to the books. Even though it was a kids show and it wasn't that well animated, but watching it again, it's got a thing. I mean, it gets a little silly, like when Vikings show up and other things. It does verge on silliness at a time, but it does kind of have the spirit of Edgar Rice Burroughs. So, and it got better in subsequent seasons.
Do people know that not from here that Tarzana?
His name.
His name, but people know that, right?
I think a lot do. I mean, Edgar Rice Burroughs lived there, and that's why they named it Tarzan.
Tarzana, but I don't know. People. Whenever I tell people that, they look at me like, "What?" Yeah. Like I'm pulling their legs. I'm like, "No."
Yeah. Absolutely. Sophia the First, a show which my daughter watches on occasion, which comes with a special appearance by Olaf from Frozen and Merida from Brave, which is the whole thing that on Sophia the First. This is kind of the television hub for the Princess Industrial Complex. So all the various characters and princesses from other movies keep showing up in Sophia the First to make sure that they publicize and keep kids very much aware of all the stuff they should be buying and that their parents should be buying for them. In any case, this is Sophia the First, the Secret Library, and as much as I want to actually thoroughly hate Sophia the First, I can't. I mean, this is 90 minutes of just really surprisingly good television animation, and I love that song. Have you heard the theme song for Sophia the First?
At your house, I certainly have.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
It's so catchy. I find myself humming it in public. It's embarrassing.
You said Princess Industrial Complex.
Yes, I can't take credit. I can't take credit for that. It's not
beautiful.
mine.
I love that.
Yeah. Can't take credit for that. And then we've also got, still from the whole Disney thing, the Mickey's Clubhouse Sporty-thon. My daughter loves Mickey Mouse Clubhouse with, Mickey and Goofy and Minnie and Daisy and Donald and Pete. By the way, Pete, Pete the...
Oh, yeah.
That's a cat. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Did you know that? That's a cat? I always thought Pete was a dog. Or if not a dog, then a bear.
Pete's a cat.
Pete's a cat. And at a certain point, Pete did become a dog, and then they made him a cat again. And I don't really understand how all that works.
That could really mess with some kids' heads, man.
My wife went and showed me the whole animated history of Pete. Because she had some free time while watching this damn show at one point. Anyway, it's good for little kids. It's educational and whatnot. And, the Sporty-thon is fine and themed for the Olympics. But, it is what it is. Whatever. I got a couple of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles titles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Beyond the Known Universe, which is, very spacey. And then Ninja Turtles... The Next Mutation, the complete series. This is another of the many, many Ninja Turtles series. This one basically live action. So it is what it is. The whole
on the heels of that Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah, which also failed to perform. I cannot keep track of all of the Ninja Turtle incarnations and shows and spin-offs. It gets a little bit like the Power Rangers thing.
Yeah.
I realize there are wiki pages that will guide me through every incarnation, but life is short.
Yeah, I covered the junkets just about all of those movies back in the early 90s. You know Sam Rockwell is in that first Ninja Turtles live-action movie. If you go look that up, go way down the IMDb, you will find Sam Rockwell.
Oh, my goodness.
Scott Wolf, Elias Code. Yeah, crazy. Hey, everybody's got to start somewhere.
All right. Well, anyway, so there we got those. We've got a bunch of Nickelodeon titles that I'll just go through real quickly. Bubble Guppies, Fun on the Farm. They're they're little mermaids and mermen, which my daughter loves, and she finds that cute. And they sing good songs, by the way. The songs on Bubble Guppies, good songs.
Mm-hmm.
Blaze and the Monster Machines, talking trucks, speed buggy type stuff. If everybody likes that whole scene. Fired Up. It's the usual. Nothing spectacular there. And then also from the Nick end of things is another Nickelodeon Let's Learn release, Science, Tech, Engineering, Math. This is Volume 2. Just a compilation of a whole lot of different shows, Paw Patrol, Dora, Team Umizoomi, Blaze, that teach certain lessons. So, I mean, it's a way of...
Dora the Explorer.
Who's getting older, by the way? Excuse me. Dora and Friends. We've also got Alpha and Omega, that whole wolf thing. Dino Digs. I don't know why everybody always has to introduce dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are extinct. Stop combining dinosaurs.
All those dinosaurs are wrong anyway. All those dinosaurs are from the old dinosaur model before we knew dinosaurs were really just birds.
Except for the dinosaurs now in the new Ice Age, which are birds.
Ah, excellent. They got it right.
There weren't, but they didn't exist in the Ice Age.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have been birds. Yeah. They would have been dinosaurs, not birds. Not actually birds.
Ridiculous. Strawberry Shortcake, Campberry Stories. If your kids like the Strawberry Shortcake series. PBS Kids, we've got a few here as well. The Daniel Goes to the Doctor from Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Out of This World, Peg plus Cat, which we always enjoy. And the O Games edition of Odd Squad, which I absolutely despise. Peg plus Cat I enjoy just because the guy who does the voice of Cat, who apparently is a veteran voice guy for cartoons, It's the funniest voice ever. If you ever have a chance, listen to it. It's the funniest voice ever. The guy who does the voice of Cat.
I'll have to check that one out.
It's a good one. Let's see what else real fast. So we've got Miraculous. Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. This was originally on Nickelodeon as well, and it's kind of a little too sexy for kids for my taste.
That gal's hot.
Yeah, it is a female superhero thing, Ladybug and Cat Noir, and but I mean, I could see this being like My Little Pony, where it's more grown men watching this than little girls.
Yeah.
Really, because
I'm uncomfortable just looking at the box. Don't need that. Yeah.
And then we got Shaun the Sheep. My daughter adores Shaun the Sheep. A little bit less now than she did originally, but we got Shaun the Sheep, The Farmer's Llama, which is an all-new Shaun the Sheep special. Very funny. The llamas are even funnier than the sheep. If you saw a Shaun the Sheep movie, or if you've ever seen any episode of the show, it is delightful, and this is just fantastic. This is good stuff from Aardman.
I've never seen that show. The movies I know, of course.
Yeah.
How is the the stop motion, the animation compared to the movies?
It's not quite as meticulous as the movie, but it's pretty darn good. I mean, there's they cut some corners for TV.
Do they supplement it with a little bit of
No,
3D?
nothing.
They just keep it real. Okay.
It is all clay, man. It's fantastic. American Girl, Leah to the Rescue. For if any of you have, my daughter's not old enough, obviously, to enjoy anything like this yet, but she will be. Tom and Jerry, Back to Oz, original movie, not good. I am sorry to say, it is. It's sort of an embarrassment. It's just because Warner Brothers happens to own Wizard of Oz, the movie from the MGM catalog, and Tom and Jerry. So they went and they just mutilated the two of them in one really bad present day feature-length Tom and Jerry throwback. It's not very good. Not really worth checking out. Littlest Pet Shop, Making Friends. These things are all the same. Sing It Elmo from Sesame Street is another collection of Elmo adventures. Wubba Wubba, well, Somebody Come and Play, and Wubba Wubba Woo, and I Can Sing, and Elmo singing just gives me the hives.
Yeah.
But kids love it. My daughter loved the Elmo. It was one of the first things that she demanded she be allowed to.
What I like about Elmo is that you can have loved Elmo when you were a child, and then your daughter can love it as a child, and if things go well, 25 years from now, you'll have 4 generations.
And speaking of that, we are debating whether or not to show... I mean, she's 3.5 now almost. So we are debating whether or not to show her The Wizard of Oz. Because certain things still scare her. Like, she will watch Ben and Holly's Little Kingdom, which is as innocuous as can be. And because they're elves and fairies, they're little, and when the squirrels show up, because the squirrels are so big, she runs and wants to be held. So she's a little skittish.
Yeah.
Are the monkeys going to freak her out? Do you think?
Oh, the monkeys freak me out. I'm 55 years old. So yes, they'll scare the crap out of her.
Power Rangers Ninja Storm, the complete series. Actually, I usually make fun of these. This is one of the better Power Ranger series. Power Rangers Ninja Storm is not as embarrassing as most of the others. It really isn't. Fighting and the costumes and everything is a lot better.
25 years worth of Power Rangers now? Unbelievable, that
it's
franchise.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Another Elmo, Elmo's Favorite Stories. This is, basically a reading for, to get kids focused on their reading and reading fundamentals, and it's fine. Just very educational and kind of dry. Lego, Friends, Always Together. The worst. There are times when the whole Lego franchise goes completely off the rails, and this is one of them. It's 5 friends and these girls, and it's really lackluster and boring and dumb. Caillou, still bald. Caillou goes for the gold. Do you get a theme here? There's a lot of Olympics themed stuff. Caillou.
Caillou gets Zika.
Power Rangers Dino Charge Breakout. Dreadful. Just the worst. This is running on fumes. Transformers Rescue Bots, Heroes of Tech, terrible animation, but Transformers fans I guess don't care.
Yeah.
And then the last few here, also from Lego, Nexo Knights. I don't get it. It's like the little Lego personalities.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Mystery to me. And then, let's see, Word World, Building Readers. It's Time for School. This is more kind of preschool reading fundamental stuff. And then the last 2 titles here real quickly for Adventure Time fans. Card Wars, is finally out. I know there were a lot of Adventure Time fans that were looking forward to this for the strangest way. People who watch Cartoon Network, I don't know any kids that watch it. I know a lot of adults that watch it.
Yeah.
I know adults who have dressed up as Adventure Time characters for Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. It's the strangest thing. And then lastly, a movie that I find really curious. It's called Underdogs, and I think this was originally supposed to get a theatrical release. This is an animated feature film, and this is going to take us into our regular features here. This is an animated feature film about foosball characters that come to life and have to undergo a little adventure, a little soccer-themed adventure, which is extremely weird. It's just and some of the voice characterizations here, some good talent. Ariana Grande, Nicholas Hoult. There's good voice casting here, but
intended to be a theatrical release, but not.
This was a theatrical. Well, it's directed by Juan Jose Campanella, who I believe he might be Colombian. In any case, this was originally released, I think, in South America and did fairly well. But there's not much to it as a movie. It's kind of a mess. I mean, the animation's good, but the story is just a complete and total disaster. And the greater story basically is that there's a kid who, and his childhood nemesis has come back as like a world famous soccer star, and he's going to take over the town. He's bought the town, and he's going to destroy the place where the kid beat him at foosball, right? And the foosball characters have to sort of help him be a champion, right? That's the whole. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but somebody might enjoy this. But in any case, it's a triumph of the nerd over his childhood tormentor.
So it makes some money in its first release in its native market. They bring in some fancy names, dub it over in English. Hopefully, they get a theatrical release someplace. Didn't quite work out. Elvis Nixon is the first Blu-ray that we have today. This was an interesting movie, 2016 movie, that I rather enjoyed. Eliza Johnson directed this. So we have Michael Shannon playing Elvis. And we have Kevin Spacey as Nixon.
It seems like, to me, the casting, when they announced it, and I kind of felt the same way watching it, it felt like just a notch off. Like, I can see both of those guys doing impressions of those characters, but I can't see them being those people.
Characters. Exactly. Yeah. If it were a skit, it would make just a little bit more sense. Michael Shannon, for people who've never met him, we've met him. He's very, very tall.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Really tall, very wiry. And this is, in the 70s. And Elvis and Nixon, by the way, did have a weird little thing.
Yeah.
Elvis, I think, solicited him to be like a special agent or something like that.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's just, I think he actually got a badge out of it.
It's
or something
very
like that.
strange.
So this commentary track here with the director and Johnny Knoxville in the movie, too.
Yeah. And A Perfect Day by Fernando León de Aranda has a really, really good cast. This is a cute film. Not probably as good as it should be. It actually, the fact that it takes place 20 years ago, I'm thinking, wow, period film. And then you look at 20 years and you go 1995. Wait a minute. That was just yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm kind of blown away.
Yeah, man. All of that makes me dizzy.
95 it's when we met.
Yeah.
Before then.
Yeah, no, we met in 90.
90, my goodness.
1990.
Oh, my
man,
goodness.
I'm giving it all away.
Anyway, so, but here, good cast. Tim Robbins, Benicio del Toro, and then Olga Kurylenko, if you know who she is, Melanie Thierry, French actress, Feja Stukan, somewhere in Eastern Europe. Anyhow, this all takes place basically 20 years ago, quote unquote, somewhere in the Balkans, which should tell you, it's a tumultuous period at the time. That was, right kind of on the tail end of the siege of Sarajevo and all of that nonsense. But it takes place over a single day, and these people are all humanitarians humanitarian aid workers in trying to get their job done in the worst part of the world at that time. And a little bit of politics between them, and it's done with a little bit of a kind of a dash of MASH meets, whatever else. I guess MASH is really the only analogy you could do. Anyway, it comes with a featurette and some interviews, and not a whole lot else, but it's worth checking out. Maybe more of a rental kind of thing than to straight up own it on Blu-ray. But De Aranda is a good director, and I expect to see him around for a while.
I got Hardcore Henry over here. So this is that sort of point of view, subjective point of view movie.
Right, right.
Kind of like that first-person shooter sort of setup going on there, which is a fairly interesting thing, although it's not the first time it was done. They talked about it like it was like this achievement. I'm telling you, everything has already been done. There's a movie called Lady in the Lake, Robert Montgomery film. It's shot completely from the subjective point of view, the whole movie, the entire time. People are looking right at you in the movie all the time. It's not a very good movie either, and he cheats a lot. This is about a guy who's brought back to life by his wife. Just at the moment when she's kidnapped, and he has to go after and try to save her, and all of this kind of stuff. It is a pretty intense little film, just because of that perspective, that point of view thing, and the way it moves. Charlton Copley in the film, Tim Roth, neat movie. This has some deleted scenes, feature commentary with the director, whose name I cannot pronounce. And I did not realize that Charlton Copley is a producer on this film.
That's interesting. Yeah,
interesting film. Anyway, some people talk about this as being right up there with like the Mad Max movies, Mad Max Fury. I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. Yeah, neat little movie though.
All right, got a trio here of movies that are supposed to make your skin crawl and make your blood run cold. Not so much, I don't think. The first one here takes place in Laos with Rossif Sutherland as a doctor who has to go completely rogue when he saves a woman from being raped and then has to run for his life. And it is called River. This was at the Toronto Film Festival last year. This is from Wellgo, and it is, I guess as a kind of man on the run, Southeast Asian variation on The Fugitive. I guess it has its moments. It's narratively very, very thin, stylistically very solid. So, decent all around, but not an amazing entry in the genre. And then from Shout Factory's Scream Factory line and IFC Midnight come the last two here in this trilogy of movies that should be better. First one is the reboot of Cabin Fever. By Travis Z. Eli Roth blessed this as executive producer. I hated the original, and I kind of hate this. It's really it's the same thing. A bunch of people hole up in a cabin, and flesh-eating virus attacks them, and
it's just all horrible.
It's awful. And then The Pack, which is basically the Birds except with dogs. So what? I mean, Birds is a little creepier because they're everywhere, and if they start attacking us, we're finished.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, I don't eat beef, and I don't eat pork, and I don't eat anything that grows fur, but I will eat birds because they are our mortal enemies, and they're out to get us.
They're dinosaurs.
I figure every single one of them that I eat, I'm contributing to the cause. I'm helping the cause.
They're just dinosaurs, little bitty dinosaurs. So.
But I don't eat dogs. Yeah. Nick Robertson, who directed this, good director. It just doesn't have, it's just not great material. And that's called The Pack. Pretty good cast. Hamish Phillips, Annalise Phillips, Jack Campbell, and Katie Moore.
I got Allegiant over here. What was it? Was it Insurgent, Divergent, Allegiant, or
Divergent, then Insurgent, then Allegiant, and the next one is Detergent? I don't know. What is it?
It should wash the look. First one kind of okay. Dug that movie.
The first one was okay. Yeah. The second one I actually liked quite a bit. This I did not see because despite they didn't even screen this for press.
Yeah,
I
know.
Ran the other way.
I had to see it for the show. By the time we get to this one, these movies are completely and totally sort of like based on CGI dynamics. It's all about just sort of like CGI things.
Too bad.
And it got pretty boring. This is a 2-disc Blu-ray with all kinds of stuff on it. I mean, just more stuff that I can even mention right here. So I don't know if you started off with the series and you liked it and you stuck through the second and you feel like you got to complete it, go ahead and complete it. But I wouldn't be a completionist about this one if I were you.
Miracles from Heaven is from the same team of people that made Heaven is for Real. These guys are trying to take the whole faith-based movie thing into a much more A-list area, and they're doing a pretty good job of it, I have to admit. My problem with the whole genre in general is that it is sort of a preordained narrative setup. People are not going in to see questions asked. They're going in to see ideas validated, which is sort of anti-dramatic to me. And,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're sort of going in knowing that the movie is going to reaffirm what you've already decided you know and believe, which is sort of like, watching confirmation bias news or visiting confirmation bias websites. Just to, you're not really going to let go. You don't want to. You're going because you don't want to let go. So, and that being said, there are some interesting things here. Jennifer Garner, A-list talent. I mean, Queen Latifah, A-list talent. So they're definitely putting good actors in there to raise it that extra level. And Patricia Regan, as a director, is a really, really good choice. Very, very talented director. Really good with actors. And, despite the fact that the story is very familiar and you sort of know where it's going to go, basically have this 10-year-old daughter who had little girl, daughter of Jennifer Garner in the film, has a degenerative, incurable disease, and a miracle happens, as you would guess from the title, and it winds up being very, very faith-affirming. So there's nothing unusual there, but the performances are good. Everything is pulled off credibly, and there's some lovely special stuff on here. Stuff from the real girl, about whose story this really is, and some concept art and interviews and deleted scenes. So
I poke those movies a lot on the show that we do for all the reasons that you just said. Yeah. But the reality is there are lots of genre of movies that do that.
Oh, absolutely, horror films.
One way or another. Certainly the Barbershop movies that have been
we're going
to talk about one of those in just a minute. Those movies are going to land in a certain spot every single time. But there's no reason to poke those any more than I do these.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the fact that they're trying now. They didn't try before. They just sort of thought all they needed to do was tread water and go through the motions. Now they're actually saying, no, we need to have production value. We need to have good writing and good directing and good cast and A-list cast and spend some money. And I respect that. So they're making an effort which they wouldn't have done before. Also, an quote-unquote inspirational true story is in the movie Endgame, which is one of these chess things, and about this kid who was, who kind of became a Mexican chess champion, and now is trying to sort of make it to the next level. He's competing in Texas, going to the state finals. And it feels a little bit like there's the kid-teacher dynamic. It's a little bit like Searching for Bobby Fischer with the Lawrence Fishburne character as the mentor and all that stuff. It's very, very kind of a similar thing. Not quite the same, but the only thing that makes this really more interesting is the fact that you've got this family dynamic. This kid's family is very imperfect, and he's trying to hold his family together. And chess as a metaphor for like the healing mortar for a busted-up family is kind of sweet. Yeah. And then as long as we're on the real-life faith-based thing, boy, this is just really silly. But this is, it's meant for families. Kevin Sorbo has become kind of a go-to guy in a lot of these faith-based movies. Yeah. Who would have thought? Hercules.
He's a really, really nice fellow, and he's very devout. I've interviewed him a bunch of times, too. Yeah, but who would have thought of Hercules?
I'll take Kevin Sorbo over Kirk Cameron any day. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, if he's taking work away from Kirk Cameron, good. I'm all for that. So Kevin Sorbo and Lara Jean Korostecki star in Joseph and Mary. And it is exactly what you would expect. No, it's not about some other Joseph and Mary. It's about that Joseph and Mary. And, it's...
all I know is Joseph was hot, and I can't believe Mary didn't do it. Come on, man. Kevin freaking Sorbo, I think he did it.
Jesus is a young boy in this thing, and, it's a completely fictionalized story about, something that happened to the family at a certain point, but it's meant to be very, faith-affirming and all of that. Anyway, that's directed by Roger Christian, who's been around a while, and perfectly capable director, so that's fine too.
I got a couple of them over here with guys who used to be movie stars. So I got this Vince Vaughn film. I can remember when Vince Vaughn was an A-list, open-to-movie star, man.
It was just like yesterday. He did the breakup with Jennifer Aniston.
It's just now he's doing these. This is one of these movies where he's on the cover of the movie. Haley Steinfeld is in the movie. It's called Term Life. He's on the cover with the gun. He's got that gun. He's pointing that gun. Yeah. You can, look, when that starts to happen to your career, you're in trouble. This is one where he's this guy who's waiting for his life insurance policy to kick in. He's got a bunch of hitmen who are trying to kill him. He doesn't really mind getting killed. He just needs the life insurance policy to kick in before he gets killed in.
There we go.
So his daughter can inherit. You got Terrence Howard in this thing. I mean, this is like a movie full of like like I said, Haley Steinfeld, Terrence Howard, Taraji P. Henson in this movie. These are all movie stars, man.
They're all good. That's a quality cast.
This
in theory,
this movie did not see the light of day in the theater. Not much on it in terms of special features either. The other guy used to be a movie star, Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal film called Code of Honor. So in this film, he's a guy with a gun. And an attitude. He's playing this vigilante, and he had this partner. I actually saw this movie. I saw it at our buddy Sherm's house. That's where I saw it. Sherm was in a Steven Seagal film a while ago.
Oh man!
And he still gets them for some reason. So I don't know. Interesting, these films that still sort of like have a life. When you and I first got started in this business, these movies would have been like the C movies, VHS, that kind of thing. I would have thought they would have went away, but they're still hanging around.
So Scott Armstrong co-wrote and directed this really peculiarly bad Search Party. Search Party wants to be a little bit like, The Hangover, but it doesn't really get there. It's just, at a certain point, chaos and debauchery is just chaos and debauchery, and it winds up being not very funny.
I think the audience, writ large, is growing tired of it.
Yeah,
I noticed that little movie about the two girls who take Zac Efron and whatever goofy guy's playing his brother to a wedding. I noticed that tanked a couple of weeks ago.
This stuff gets old very, very quickly. So anyway, this is about a guy who's jilted at the altar, and he runs away to Mexico and gets carjacked, and he finds himself naked, and his buddies have to come and sort of yada 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 fill in the rest. It becomes just one outrage. It's like it is The Hangover. It's like, let's think of how many outrageous things we can make happen to people and pack it all together and have actors overact, and that'll be funny. Not really, not funny. And then here's another one. As long as we're talking about guys who used to be movie stars, boy, John Travolta in I Am Wrath.
I saw that movie. It was really terrible.
How, is it that John Travolta does not know what makes a good movie, even at this point in his career, or does he just not care? Does he just want to take the paycheck so that he can keep filling his jet with fuel? Is that what it is? I don't know.
Look, you think about John Travolta right now. In terms of A-list movies, John Travolta has been nothing but a bad guy for the past, I'm going to say, 15 years.
About that, yeah.
He's put on the right hair, whatever, thing, walk around, be the bad guy. If he wants to do something where he's not playing the bad guy, he has to go to these movies.
Well, anyway, the whole thing here is he plays basically a vigilante renegade guy who it's the Dirty Harry Death Wish thing, right? That's basically what he is. His wife is killed by a street gang, and he's got to go vigilante to get revenge, take him out. I mean, the only thing that makes this interesting, I think, is Christopher Maloney, who's an actor I always really liked from Law and Order. Yeah. And it's nice to see him do something a little bit different, and see him
plays his partner in the movie. What's funny about that movie? That movie, I think it's is it Patricia Arquette who plays the wife in there? Yeah. I think it's Arquette, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
And this movie opens, and you see her, and you see him, and you realize she's going to get killed horribly because he has to be pissed about something. And sure enough, she gets stabbed out in the parking garage like you would not believe. It's just horrifying. Just terrible. It's terrible. I got a couple over here that are actually really very good. Jason Bateman's movie, The Family Fang, with Nicole Kidman.
I love this movie.
We saw this movie for the show too. Christopher Walken in it. This was just a very, very bright movie. I'll let you describe it a little, but this DVD had some special features on it, including a commentary track with Jason Bateman,
which is great.
Worth it for that.
Absolutely. And the thing about Jason Bateman is, his first Bad Words, his first film as a director, it was terrific, absolutely terrific. A lot of people didn't like it because it had a real caustic feel to it, right?
It was edgy.
This angry grown man who decides he's just going to ruin the state spelling bee, and he's going to exploit a loophole in the rules that allow him to compete against kids, and he's just killing it left and right, and he's wrecking the whole thing. And a lot of people just didn't like the nihilistic feel of that. Like, you're supposed to root for a guy who's being cruel to children and taking... It's like, no, you're missing the point.
You're missing the point.
You're missing the point. He's being cruel to adults. is what he's doing. He's getting revenge against, I won't give anything away, but great movie. Family Fang, I thought, let's see if if the sophomore curse. It doesn't, man. It's a deep, smart, wicked. His films are so edgy. It's basically about a couple of kids, grown kids. Jason Bateman being he and
Nicole
Kidman are brother and sister, and when they were kids. And you can see them as kids in flashback. They were kids. They were used by their parents for these elaborate performance art pieces where they would stage, heists or tragic things, or somebody was shot or whatever. And people would be horrified until they realized it was a big fake. It was all fake. Yeah. And it's really weird and sadistic. These elaborate practical jokes, which to his parents, it's performance art.
The only kind of art. Christopher Walken plays one of the parents, and
plays his dad.
Really sophisticated inside thinking stuff.
Really, really smart stuff. So anyway, now this all kind of comes to a head later in life where they're grown and they don't want to really deal with their parents' crap anymore, and they need therapy, and they have their own life issues, and it's a really smart movie. It's really, really smart. Very interesting.
I also have Born to Be Blue here, Ethan Hawke playing Chet Baker in this movie that's just an excellent
Came out at the same time
film.
as Don Cheadle.
The Miles Davis film, which was really sort of interesting, which was also excellent. And they're excellent in the same way and sort of for the same reason, right? So we have Ethan Hawke playing Chet Baker. Chet Baker was an interesting guy, obviously a drug addict, and he played the Trump, all of that. And just couldn't stop using the drugs, couldn't stop. He had a little moment where he was an actor, and he played himself in a film about him. This all actually happened. This film takes liberties with that and sets itself at that moment in history. And we see Ethan Hawke playing Chet Baker in the movie. And it's really, really sort of neat. And we move sort of back and forth in time like that. Ethan Hawke does a version of My Funny Valentine, Chet Baker's version.
Sure.
But he does it. Ethan sings it in this film. Exquisite. Excellent
talented
work.
Man.
Some of these actors, dude, they really get on my nerves. Like Superman. I remember when he was a little kid. Deleted scenes, behind the scenes trailer, that kind of stuff. But just a really, really good movie, whether you know anything about Chet Baker or not.
Yeah, sweet. All right, and getting down to the last two new movies this week, the two biggies. Tim, the Barbershop series.
The Barbershop series is clocking 20 years now. This series of movies, Ice Cube at the center of them. Dude, first of all, Ice Cube.
Yeah,
met Ice Cube 25 years ago. Hard gangster, hard gangster, hard gangster. In 25 years, he's become, I don't know, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or something like that. It's the chocolate Stay Puft. And he was always a lovely fellow, actually.
Yeah. Well, he was always a guy who could look meaner than he was. That face that he puts on in the Jump Street movies. He knows how to look angry.
He is every bit the guy in these movies.
Yeah.
He's Ice Cube and that gangster and all that. That was all real. He lived in those streets at that time. You and I know L.A. We know those streets from that time. You had to be hard.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you're not this guy too.
He's also and the guy in the the Where Are We Going?
Next Friday and Friday after before.
He's all those.
He's and that watching that over 25 years and the way it sort of culminates in this film. Which comes back to being a community film. They're just these community films. They do the exact same thing that what we were talking about with those faith-based films. You know where this film is gonna land.
Absolutely.
We're going to sing "We Are the World" and all of that, and it's going to all get together, and it does, and it's funny as hell, like they always have been.
What I like about the Barbershop films is that they have not exploited them as a franchise in the way that franchises usually exploited, which is, hey, let's just, a perfect example, like the Hangover movies, where you have three, they're exactly the same thing over and over. There's an actual thematic progression in these films that I appreciated. When the first Barbershop, I get it. This is the center of the black community. This is where people go and they talk and they exchange ideas and they argue. Writ large. And then they did another one. And I was cynical. I was skeptical. I said, okay, what are you going to give me more people talking in Barbershop? And then it opened with that flashback and Cedric the Entertainer, and it kind of ties back into a whole civil rights era thing, and it introduced a different dynamic in the sequel. And I thought,
and a specific thing to discuss that's still a thing relevant to the community.
So I thought, there you go, that's interesting. You've dialed it, up a notch. You've taken this into a different place. And I appreciate that each film does not repeat the previous film, but builds on it.
This one is speaking to some of the sort of outrageous, outlandish violence happening in places like Chicago.
Yeah.
And how the barbershop. So again, they see a thing in the community.
They hold a mirror up.
Yeah. They stick with the funny. You know, they're going to be funny, but they're real sincere about the thing that they're talking to, and they get someplace.
It's great. No, it's really good.
It's like the reverse of Chirac, this movie.
Yes. Yeah, it is kind of.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, here's the biggie. Batman v Superman. Not Batman versus Superman, Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
By the way, I heard a great joke the other day. So a Roman walks into a bar and holds up 2 fingers and says, "I'll take 5, please." There you go. Okay.
Zack Snyder doesn't know that.
Anyway.
Zack Snyder doesn't know any jokes.
No.
He should really stop making the same movie over and over and over again.
As I said the other day to somebody, I said, it's very easy to make a Zack Snyder film. Everybody walks in and they oil up and they flex and everything is hot and sexy and muscular and metallic and wet.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's hot, sexy, metallic and wet and muscular and shiny.
It was steeped in that sort of the problem of this film is that it is in fact a Zack Snyder film that happens to star, Batman and Superman. But it's a Zack Snyder film first. It has way more in common with the 300.
It does.
Or any
you're right.
than it does any other film to come out of the sort of Marvel DC universes, such as they are.
And I just want to say, I don't want to be famous for my legendary viral rant from Stupid for Movies where I curse Zack Snyder's name. I see myself at some point being at a function and having him punch me. So I don't like being right all the time.
Man. You can take him.
You
can take him.
I don't like being right. I'd like for him to just shock the pants off of me and make a movie which is just astonishing, where I just say, I'm so glad you grew up and you made a great film, and I take it all back. I would love to say that. It just isn't happening.
Well, he's only ever been a stylist. He's never been a storyteller. I mean, the Watchmen. I mean, really.
Yeah,
I mean, how do you jack that? It's right there.
Here's the thing, too. This has the original cut, which is 2.5 hours, and then it has the 182 minute director's cut, 3 hours
which they
long.
re-released for a minute or two in theaters a few months back.
Okay. People, and some people are being very kind to this and saying, well, it explains more. It makes the movie more clear and understandable. Yeah, so is the long-form tax form. But I would rather use the 1040EZ because it's not as hard on my psyche. It doesn't need this. If you need 3 hours to tell this story, the story's a problem.
There wasn't anything confusing at all about the original film. There wasn't anything that wasn't understandable. I understand exactly what's going on, and I understand that this is all silly.
This should have been 2 hours and 10 minutes, max. Yeah. Max. When you consider, this is a problem. It's a problem. So anyway, this is 4K release. It's got the the Ultra HD Blu-ray thing. And does it look good? Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, this film is like CGI'd and greased and slicked up and 4K'd out, and to within an inch of its life. And the HDR is perfect for this film because it's so dark and so shadowy.
Yeah, with all those vignettes.
Yeah, so it needs that. So I mean, I'll say this: if you see this thing, you're going to see this playing for months on television, on 4K televisions, in showrooms on the floor. Yeah, because it pops. It really pops. It looks gorgeous. It's just not a good movie.
Yeah,
not a good movie. Anyway. By way of extras, not a heap here, not what you would expect. So I suspect they're gonna try to do some kind of a boxed set down the line, is my guess. Where they call this the Ultimate Edition, but I have a feeling that we're going to probably see a box set because the Superman, the Zack Snyder Superman, Man of Steel, is coming out 4K shortly. We're supposed to get that, and I have a feeling that once that 4K comes out and we get Justice League 4K, Flash, we're probably going to get like a big old box set that's going to be really, really, really jacked up with extras. So but otherwise, I mean, this has mostly featurettes on it, and it's
it's all material that has probably been in the world someplace else at some other time.
It's all EPK stuff.
Doing that, yeah, EPK.
It's all EPK. It's not, it's a lot of EPK stuff, but it's nothing to write home about. So, anyway, Tim, let's dive into some TV here. I will drop off first with some new titles from MHZ, MHZ Networks. As they reminded me, I will remind you, it is not megahertz. It is MHZ Networks, and we have Detective Montalbano and The Young Montalbano. These are Italian. This is two Italian series basically, and we've talked about some of these before. Luca Zingaretti plays Detective Montalbano, and this is episodes 27 and 28 on this one set. He is tough and he is intense. And this is based on a mystery series that is apparently very, very popular in Italy. And it's good stuff. I mean, it's really, really great Italian procedural stuff, in Italian, of course, like all the MHZ stuff. It is foreign language and subtitled for American audiences. And, the whole kind of Sicilian backdrop really, really gives it an exotic flavor and an intensity that is pretty, pretty great. And then we have the young Montalbano, which is that character before he became the current guy, and again based on the short stories about the same character. And this is episodes 7 through 9 on one set of discs, and then episodes 10 through 12 on another one. Pretty great stuff too. I mean, it's a different vibe. It kind of goes back in time, and before he is this really, really gritty detective. He's just a young police chief, and trying to sort of put things together and really not iron out the rough edges, but find a way to better sharpen those rough edges and focus them. And it's still gritty and it's still tough and it's still really cool. And it gives you wonderful, wonderful Italian backdrops, especially Genoa in one episode, The Honest Thief, which is just gorgeous. I highly recommend The Young Montalbano and Detective Montalbano from MHZ. Good stuff.
I got Colony Season 1 here. This is from Colton Cruz, the guy that did Lost, and stars the guy, one of the guys who's one of the stars in Lost. This is a interesting series. Only seen 1 or 2 episodes of it. Mm-hmm. Set in Los Angeles, near future kind of thing. Los Angeles has been occupied by an occupying force. People have to make choices about which side they're going to be on. So it's one of those kind of storylines. The 1 or 2 that I saw was actually pretty damn good. I like the sort of dramatic tone that it takes. Very serious. It's not like it's not an action thriller sort of show. It's more like a detective show and a political drama. Which brings us to House of Cards. Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright, of course. Volume 4. Let's see, series 40 through 52 here.
Oh my goodness!
You know what? I only watched the first season of this when I think he was still like a congressman or a senator or something. Mm-hmm. I think he's the president now. Yeah. You know what? This series went off the rails for me, and I know that it's based on a British series.
Yeah, the British series is really, really good. I like the British series. The American one is worn thin on me.
It was very good that first season I watched. Then it went off the rails for me when it went toward high satire.
Yeah.
When they start killing people, I think his name is Frank.
When Kevin Spacey just started when he gets all kind of campy about it, he turns into he turns into Lex Luthor again.
Yeah, Lex Luthor, the guy from that movie, that crazy movie that he made years ago. So anyway, this is still very nice. Complete 4th season. Not a whole lot of stuff on here. But something called the Underwood 2016 campaign stickers. So I guess, he must have ran for president. Actually won. Right there. And then we have season 1 of Naked and Afraid. I watched this show over at a buddy of mine's house who loves this Naked and Afraid show.
I can't get with any of it. All these, the unholy children of the bastard children of Survivor.
It's a ludicrous concept for a show, number one. I mean, absolutely. You know what cracks me up about this show, right? So you have these people who take them out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Hot, cold. old, whatever, just bug infested nowhere, naked, and they can bring like a thing with them, so like a knife or a cup or something like the things that people bring sometimes just crack me the hell up. Like, I brought a spoon. A spoon, really? You can give it. And then the other thing that kills me on this show. It never seems to occur to them to make shoes. Just make yourself some shoes, man.
Kill a lizard and cut them and just stick your feet in.
Make something to cover up your
Hollow
tatas. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, a lot of folks like this season 1, Naked and Afraid.
All right, let me blow through a few here real quickly. From the Bible Stories series, we have Joseph and Jacob. If you don't know who they are, you don't know enough about the Bible to care. Ben Kingsley and Paul Mercurio in the story of Joseph, which is really just kind of weird. Ben Kingsley, is good casting, I guess, for Pharaoh. And Paul Mercurio, little hard to sort of imagine him not in Strictly Ballroom, but
I'm thinking Ben Kingsley, Edward G. Robinson. Kingsley, Edward G. Robinson. I'm in Pharaoh. See?
And then in Jacob, you know what? You throw a beard on Matthew Modine. I guess he looks biblical. Why not? Why not? Fair enough. He looks older. I love Matthew Modine, but anyway, it's a little silly. Laura Flynn Boyle is in this as well.
Oh, Laura Flynn.
What makes this a little better is both of them, I should point out, written by Lionel Chetwynd, who is a very, very good and seasoned writer. A lot of good credentials. The thing that sets Jacob apart a little bit is directed by Peter Hall, who is a Shakespearean stage director, best known as the father of Rebecca Hall, who's getting quite a little profile now as a very, very good actress. And she's shown up in a lot of things, Woody Allen movies, among others, Vicky Cristina Barcelona was that, wasn't it? Yeah. So in any case, I don't want to rip on these too much. I mean, they're fine for what they are. So this is from the Bible Stories series, and then on the classic television front, a season 1 and a final season of 2 shows that I was always very fond of. Daniel Boone is now releasing all. It has been out before in a complete series set, but through Shout Factory. We are now getting it in individual season sets, and this is season 1 of Daniel Boone, which is still colorful and gorgeous and wonderful, and this is a really fun show. It is amazing how this show actually holds up. I'm with Fess Parker, who of course also played Davy Crockett. If you had a coonskin cap, he was going to play you.
Yeah.
And this is 29 episodes from that first year when they, shows back then in the 60s and 50s, they would do 30, 35 episodes in a year. I mean, they worked their butts off, and they didn't have digital editing or nonlinear editing or anything.
For like $600 a week.
Man, they killed them.
And that was before residuals too, by the way.
Yeah. And then the final season of Ba Ba Black Sheep.
I love that show.
Otherwise known as Black Sheep Squadron, which was one of Robert Conrad's many fine shows. Robert Conrad, always one of my favorite TV actors.
Yeah.
All the way from Hawaiian Eye to Wild Wild West, and Black Sheep Squadron. I even like some of the shows that people forget about, like The Duke. Did you ever see The Duke?
I don't think I know that.
He was on The Duke with Larry Manetti before Larry Manetti went on to Magnum P.I. He did The Duke right after Black Sheep went off the air, where he played a former boxer become private eye in Chicago. And
love it already.
It lasted like 7 or 8 episodes, and then there was another show that I loved that he was on.
Ski Patrol or something like that.
No, there was a spy show, The Man Called. Oh, what was that?
Wow.
Where he was. You might want to look that up. Where he was on it with Dan O'Herlihy. Dan O'Herlihy played kind of like the M character for a spy organization, and I remember he'd go into the toy store and take an elevator down, and he got all his secret private eye instructions, and it was a really fun show. Had a really kind of a Wonder Woman vibe to it, and
that's interesting.
That got canceled too. But anyway, Robert Conrad.
A Man Called Sloan.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Man Called Sloan.
Man Called Sloan. Yeah, 1979. Year greater than
79. Robert Conrad, fantastic. So anyway, Black Sheep Squadron is based on the true stories of Major Pappy Boyington and his Marine pilot squad of Corsairs who were island-based during World War II in the Pacific, and they were an amazing squadron. And basically every episode is pretty much the same. They shoot down a few Japanese Zeros and have a little fun with the girls back on the island, and that's all you need to know. This was one of the first big shows created by Stephen J. Cannell.
Yep.
And then he would go on and do a lot of other great stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I got a couple here. Canadian television series called Slasher Season 1. So this is a show about it reminds me of that Scream, of the Scream movie sort of set up. A young woman, her parents were killed in a grisly way in her small hometown. She returns to the hometown, and people start dying in a sort of copycat ways. And with her parents were killed, and everyone, is looking at her, because it was her parents that started the whole damn thing. Interesting storyline here. What do we got here? Behind the scenes featurette on that, and it's a Chiller Network show, so it's an original show from Chiller. Just about everybody that has a streaming service is producing original content now.
Yeah.
Some of it which turns out to be pretty good, so that's a Chiller Network show. Another one is The Magicians. I've seen this show. This is actually pretty good. I kind of like it. So it's set in a world. It's, I don't know, for people, it's like Harry Potter fans who are a little bit older, right? So it's set in a world, the normal sort of world, but in this world there are people who have magical powers, who are magicians. And there's a college, a university, kind of like that Hogwarts thing, like that. Yeah. And where if you are cited as one of these people, you're drawn into this university. And so you have these kids at this university doing magic and solving crimes and all that kind of crap. And then the best of all of these from the BBC, Season 4 of Orphan Black. I believe she just got herself another Emmy nomination just the other day, if I'm not mistaken. First of all, she's astounding. My little brother turned me on to the show 3 or 4 years ago.
Sharp.
I knocked out 2 seasons of it in one sitting. She's just amazing. She plays these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters. I think one of them got killed a couple of seasons ago. So like 5 characters. And she really does delineate between these characters, and she kills it. Spies and underworld and government programs. Also coming out of Canada and the UK, Orphan Black. Special features on this, back to the beginning. So it recreates Season 1, the clones of Season 4, the special effects of Season 4, and a look inside each episode.
So real quickly, Red versus Blue, which, if you guys are into any of this kind of cyberpunky video game stuff that they've been doing on Red versus Blue for the longest time, they just keep cranking them out. So we have Red versus Blue, the Chorus Trilogy, seasons 11, 12, and 13. To me, it's just, I don't know, this is just, Microsoft Studios deeply involved in this. I never really got this. It still doesn't make sense to me, but it's a nice set, nice packaging.
That's a good-looking box, man.
It's a good-looking box, so if the box means something to you, go for it. The Dresser didn't really need to be remade. The original film, the Peter Yates film.
It's just extraordinary.
Albert Finney, Tom Courtenay. Amazing movie.
At the top of my list of sort of British dramas from that
wonderful
early 70s through late 80s period. That's one of the top of my list.
But if you're going to redo it, they got a good package to redo it. Richard Eyre directing. Richard Eyre, of course, has done a number of fine British films, including Iris, which is lovely. And then what actors are you going to get? Let's get Ian McKellen and Anthony Hopkins. No, you could do worse.
Yeah.
Are they as good as Courtney and Finney were? They're different. I don't want to say they're not as good. They're different. It's a different interpretation. And if you've seen the original film, it's a little bit hard to sort of make the adjustment to make the jump. But it's still great material, and it's still nicely done. I don't think it needed to be redone, but if you love these actors, you're certainly not going to be disappointed. And then here's what really disappointed me. So, Tim, I get this press release, right, in the email, and it says DVD release coming of Electro Woman and Dyna Girl.
Yeah.
I started sweating. I was so happy. I loved Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. It was part of the Croft Super Show when I was a kid. I thought, oh my gosh, you had Dr. Shrinker and the Far Out Space Nuts and the original Ghostbusters, and Electro Woman and Dyna Girl was the best. I loved Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. It was like Batman and Robin, except they were women in hot spandex, and I loved it, especially. And then, at one point, I had a car accident. I had some soft tissue injury in my back. I went to a chiropractor who's working on me, and we just got to talking. Somehow, we got into me being a film critic, and he says, oh, my wife was an actress. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, she did a few things, like this TV show called Electro Woman and Dyna Girl, and I was like, wait, she did what? She was on Electro Woman and Dyna Girl? I said, who was she? She goes, Do you know the show? She played Dinah Girl. Like, wait, what? You telling me my chiropractor is Dinah Girl's husband? What are you telling me? He pulls out his wedding photo. He goes, yeah, here, and there is my chiropractor with his my goofy chiropractor with the curly hair standing next to like Dinah Girl in a wedding dress, and he worked on my back. It was one of the greatest moments of my life, and I'm so excited. Oh my God,
I love that show too.
Yeah, you know what?
No.
It's not the original show. It's a new one.
Yeah.
It's a new one.
Yeah.
It's a new one. They redid Electra Woman and Dinah Girl.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. Grace Helbig, Hannah Hart, they're perfectly fine actresses. I have nothing against them, but this is not the original. This is not it. The original is not on DVD, but this remake thing, this weird unnecessary remake is on DVD, and I don't understand why they did that.
I have the third and final season of Bitten, another Canadian television series. Yes. One of these werewolf things. Kind of a neat show, actually. Saw one or two of these too. It's about this young woman. She wants to get out of that whole sort of supernatural, crazy family pack werewolf thing that's going on. So she goes to the city, becomes a photographer. She's very successful. Then her pack, the people from her pack, start coming up dead. So she has to go back because her bloodline. She's the strongest wolf, she-wolf in the bloodline. She has to go back and protect her. Kind of neat so far as this stuff kind of goes. Looks good too. This is the third and final season of Bitten. Got some deleted scenes, extended scenes, and a look at the final season featurette.
Fabulous.
And Adventures in Babysitting. 5 kids, 2 sitters, 1 ferret. So this is a television series based on the movie of our youth. Remind me the name of the actress who I fell in love with. Elizabeth Shue. Man, I had a thing about her for like 15 years.
She went from that to Karate Kid. I think she did the Karate Kid first, and then she went to Adventures in Babysitting. But then, of course, Leaving Las Vegas.
Trigger Effect, and Hollow Man's just nuts about Elizabeth Shue for so many years. What the hell happened to her? Where'd she go?
She married what's his name? That director and
Davis Guggenheim.
Yeah. Who won? Won the Oscar.
Well, you marry Guggenheim. What the hell are you going to hang around making movies for? That's stupid. Anyway, neat little television series, sort of based on that. Cute, some outtakes and never seen before cast bloopers and crap like that.
So last thing on television, and then I got a couple of animated things, and then we're going to wrap this show out. America's Test Kitchen, season 16. Which this thing just keeps on trucking, I guess, because people just keep eating. I guess that's not going to ever go out of style. If you want to make money, I guess food is where it's at.
That's where it's at, man.
Food is never going to be obsolete.
Whole networks, whole channels.
Unbelievable, and I love cooking. So
I would do one. Tell me they're not. I've never had an original idea, so. There must be a cooking show that's nothing but fried foods.
I'm sure,
like the whole damn show.
I'm sure there is. The one I used to watch when I was younger is that guy from Louisiana.
Yeah, big Paul Perdue.
Not Paul Perdue. Not Paul Perdue. This guy. What was this guy's name? This is a big fat Cajun guy who'd sit there basically every single. I think it was on PBS. Yeah. Every single episode was him in his backyard, which is basically a bunch of weeds, and with like a big drum sitting on top of a fire, and he's just throwing stuff into it and boiling it. And then it's like, hey, I'm going to throw in a crab now. I'm going to throw in some shells and a rock and some weeds. And he's just dumping stuff into this vat of boiling water. And it doesn't even look like it's made for food. It looked like a drum, right? Like toxic waste came in this originally, and he just kind of cleaned it out. And he puts it up on top of some coals. And he boils a bunch of stuff. Cut to this amazing spread with food on it, and you just think, man, you just boiled a bunch of stuff, and now there's a spread, and there's something happening in between that you are not sharing with me.
Yeah. Found this out back.
Well, anyway, so America's Test Kitchen continues to be a really, really good show. I make fun of these things, but there's a lot of wonderful stuff in here, and it's really well produced, but the food is what you see this for. And the food, oh my gosh, the food. There's a chocolate caramel layer cake that is just, it will make your eyes bleed. It hurts so much looking at it. Wonderful, wonderful sweet and spicy Asian food stuff in here. The one that I probably like the most is the grilled chicken and salad with a kick, which sounds dull and boring, but my goodness, it is wonderful. So there's some really, really good stuff in here. Spanish chicken and Israeli couscous, also really, really good. A lot of great dishes. So that's America's Test Kitchen, Season 16. And then some animated stuff we should make mention of here at the end. When our good friend Ray was on the show last as a guest, we allowed him and his alter ego to slam some of the releases from the DePatie Freleng collection, a collaboration between David DePatie and Friz Freleng that was produced by the Mirish Company at the time, because this is when they were doing the Pink Panther animation and the Clouseau animation, all that kind of stuff. And I really actually like this stuff. I think Ray was a little tough on it. This is all late 60s, early 70s. And these two newest releases are Tijuana Toads and Roland and Ratfink. Roland and Ratfink is actually a lot of fun. It has kind of somewhere between the Pink Panther-y Clouseau cartoons and Coyote and Roadrunner. So, but I still like the animation. I think it's got a great late 60s, early 70s vibe to it. The style, the colors, the really intensely well-drawn and very sort of angular and sometimes curvaceous artwork. I think it's a lot of fun. Good audio commentaries on some of these. From Mark Arnold and Jerry Beck and Art Davis, all of whom are historians and archivists for this kind of stuff, and a couple of documentaries on each of them, all about the collaboration between DePatie and Freleng. So I actually enjoy this stuff.
Lastly, here I have The Boy in the World nominated for an Academy Award. What, a year ago? So, yeah. Brazilian artist. This film is astounding, and I like it because it's a walk down a different path than the sort of standard American fare, the sort of Pixar, Disney, Warner Brothers sort of fare. The art is very austere and period. It's about a little boy who follows his father off to the city, and it's about that battle between small towns, small places, villages, and the city, and how he comes to understand the world as just sort of like literally explodes sometimes in animation. It's colorful, it's bright, it's beautiful.
It's a wondrous, wondrous film, and it's all hand-drawn animation. It's not a CGI thing. And this actually came on our radar. It came on everybody's radar at awards time. Nobody was really aware of this. I mean, we were all looking at the usual, the Pixar and the studio stuff for animation, and then this showed up as a screener.
And everybody just
went nuts for it and just said, this is wonderful and magical and completely different and innovative and original, and it takes you into a wondrous place.
I just love that hand-drawn animation, simple animation with simply formed characters in a fantastic palette can still find a place.
And something that's not CGI, not American, and not anime. That it's from another part of the world and represents a completely different cultural window, funneled through artwork and animation. It's wonderful. We just don't get enough of that. So, and South American animation, who knew? It's really wonderful and impressionistic, and I'm so glad it got an Oscar nomination. So, Ale Abreu's Boy in the World, Blu-ray, DVD, and ultraviolet combo set, with some really interesting making of stuff on it for sure. All right, Tim, thank you. I think we'll have you here one more week before Mark comes back and gives us the scoop.
We'll let him settle down.
We'll let him chill down. All right, we will see you guys next week.